Hello! And welcome to The Big Bang.
On today's show...
the strange but true story of the rocket scientist who invented the most powerful water pistol in the world.
We'll make a new version of a classic toy, the amazing Cassette Cascade.
And we drop a Land Rover from a great height and drive it away afterwards.
But first, a trick.
I think you've already done it, Violet. I tell you, I have never seen two plastic tumblers, one balanced on top of the other, with them both full of water. Great trick. Well
done. Something even more amazing is about to happen because your challenge is to empty the top tumbler of water without touching it.
Can I use the card?
If you want.
I reckon if I get the card in there again, I can turn the top... Oh, I'd have to touch the top tumbler to do that, wouldn't I?
You can use a straw if you like.
That's not going to help.
Ah, but it is, because I've left a tiny gap between the tumblers and it's small enough so the surface tension of the water keeps the water in. But if you blow...
Oh, wow. There we go.
The water is bubbling up with all the air you're pushing in and the air is forcing the water out. It's good, isn't it?
Fantastic trick, but I'm out of breath. All right, a fantastic trick for you, right?
OK.
I can make a hole in your hand using a plain piece of paper.
Ouch!
No pain. It won't hurt, I promise you. And in fact, I can make a hole in your hands too using a piece of paper. But if you want to do this, you'll have to go and get a piece of paper right now.
Are you ready, sir?
I am, sir.
5 paces, turn and fire.
Agreed.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want a good water pistol fight, you'll need a good water pistol.
This is the strange but true story of the rocket scientist who revolutionised the water pistol.
Our rocket scientist hero is Lonnie Johnson, who lives in America. When he was a boy, Lonnie spent hours taking things apart, just to see how they worked.
And when he grew up, Lonnie spent hours putting things together. Things like stealth bombers.
He trained as an astronaut and helped NASA design spacecraft and rockets.
But Lonnie also had his mind on more down-to-earth problems. Like this. This is the wet diaper detector, the world's first nappy, which tells you when there's been a little accident.
But he didn't only design serious high-tech stuff. He also designed fun high-tech stuff, like Nerf guns.
I can see ya!
About 20 years ago, Lonnie was working on a design for a new environmentally friendly kind of fridge that didn't use chemicals called CFCs, which harm the Earth's atmosphere.
Lonnie reckoned he could make a fridge work using water and compressed air. So he started doing some experiments.
The air pressure blew his experiment apart and sent a jet of water streaming across the room.
This gave Lonnie a brilliant idea.
He decided to design a water pistol which used pressurised air, and he called it the Supersoaker.
All you have to do is pump up the pressure when it's full of water and it squirts like mad. Lonnie's town was so proud they made February the 25th, 1994, Lonnie G. Johnson Day.
And Lonnie went on to invent loads of other stuff.
It's about time Lonnie invented the super dryer, never mind the super soaker. Violet, I'm soaked.
Super.
Have you seen one of these before? It's my version of a classic toy called a Jacob's Ladder. And it looks like these boxes are sliding from the top all the way down to the bottom. But that's not what's actually happening. If you look again and I do it slowly, you can see when I turn the top box, these two ribbons cross over and the hinge swaps from one end of the box to the other end. Then that happens to the next box and the next box, giving the impression that one box is sliding all the way from the top to the bottom. Now, you can make yourself a Jacob's Ladder, like I've done, using empty cassette boxes. Now, I've popped a piece of yellow card in there just to give it a bit of colour. Next, you'll need 3 huge lengths of ribbon laid out like this. 1 on one side, 2 on the other side, and you'll need lots of sticky tape. The first thing you do, lay your box down, take the ribbon over the top, and then tape that ribbon to one end of the cassette box. Like that. Then do the same for the other 2 ribbons and tape those down to the other end of the cassette box. Then lay another cassette box on top and cross the ribbons over. Now, it's important to leave a little bit of slack and tape the ribbons down where they wrap around the ends of the cassette box. Keep going till you've got a stack 4 boxes high. Don't forget that you can find instructions for everything we do on the Big Bang website. And there you go, one Jacob's Ladder.
Come on, Gareth. You've already made one with 4 cassettes.
Right then, here we go.
Now that's more like it, but will it work?
Well, there's only one way of finding out.
And are you tall enough?
I don't know, I've never made one this long before. Here we go. Whoa.
Stretch.
Yeah, well, I'm tall enough, but does it work? Here we go. Yes!
Now that's what I call a Jacob's Ladder. Today's big question. What's the best way of getting a lift when you're stuck in the middle of nowhere?
Suppose you needed a car right here, right now. There are no roads, so what do you do?
It's simple, really. All you do is deliver the car in one of these.
This is a Hercules transport plane. There's plenty of room in the back for your car. These huge fat tyres mean that it can land on really rough surfaces. And these propellers can be put into reverse, so the whole thing can stop on really short runways.
But there's no runway in the middle of nowhere, not even a short one, so the Hercules can't land. But that's not a problem. With one of these things, you don't even have to land. You just chuck the car out the back as you're flying along.
Violet, you know, I've been thinking, perhaps we ought to use something a bit more robust than a regular car. Something like a Land Rover.
Yeah, and we'll need something to put it in so it survives the drop. Something big. And some enormous parachutes. And some of these. Take it away, fellas. These guys are air dispatchers. Lobbing things out of aeroplanes is their job. You want to get some food to the middle of nowhere? Well, bag it and drop it.
If you want to drop something a bit bigger, say like ski equipment, attach it to a parachute and chuck it out the back of a Hercules.
And the stuff just gets bigger and bigger. Spare tyres, fuel containers, camping equipment, computers, boats.
You name it, they'll drop it. Even Land Rovers.
One Land Rover, secured in its cage and ready to drop. The idea is that when it hits the ground, the airbags underneath and the cage take the blow. The Land Rover has to be loaded into the Hercules. But however well packed it is, it'll never survive the drop without parachutes.
And here are those parachutes. This is the first one to be paid out. It's only small. What happens is it's released out the back of the aircraft, fills full of air and pulls out the main parachutes.
They're huge, there are 3 of them, and they're attached to the bottom of the cage. So when they open up, they pull the whole thing out in less than 3 seconds.
So now the Land Rover is ready to be dropped wherever you want, like the middle of nowhere.
Well, I better get to the middle of nowhere then.
Taxi runway 36, enter on, caution 1 Bulldog, taxi in the same way. Enter on, 26, roger.
The Army and the Air Force don't just drop everything to drop Land Rovers at the drop of a hat.
This is good practice for when they need to do it for real. For instance, when there's a disaster, like a flood or a drought, and supplies are needed urgently.
Timing the drop is absolutely crucial. The navigator has to work out when to release the parachutes. Even if he's only 5 seconds late, the Land Rover will land 300 metres from where it's supposed to be.
Aha! I knew it'd be here somewhere. Now, where's my lift?
And if we go around the tactical descent checks, please. Certainly. Just coming.
When all 3 parachutes are out, the only thing holding the cage and the Land Rover in the Hercules is this cable. There's no release mechanism, it just snaps.
Come on, Gareth.
I'm just going to follow the valley, the river.
We're almost at the middle of nowhere, over what they call the drop zone. Now they've opened up the hatch at the back of the Hercules. Let's hope it works.
The wind is about 300 at 12 knots at this height at the moment. Oh, roger.
Yay! Here he comes!
Ready now. Roger.
There are the parachutes. They'll open in a moment. And it's out! Wait for the airbags. They've inflated. Cross your fingers. Oof. Well, the Land Rover's down. Let's see if it survived.
How about that, eh? There's not a scratch on it, and it started first time.
So what's the best way of getting a lift when you're stuck in the middle of nowhere?
Ask the military to drop you a Land Rover. It's what they do.
Right then, time for my trick. Have you got your piece of paper handy? If you have, I can make a hole in your hand and yours too.
I'm worried about this, Gareth. Are we going to get a paper cut?
No, I promise you this is definitely absolutely safe.
Good.
Right, you can use your comic. Do what I do, and you do this at home as well. Take your piece of paper and roll it up into a tube, right? A sort of a cylinder, if you like. When you've done that, take your cylinder and hold it up to your left eye and look through it, right? And focus on something way in the distance. Then, take your right hand and hold it up against the tube like this, and tell me what you see.
I've got a hole in my hand.
Exactly. Are you getting this at home as well? You should be. Now, the way this works is fantastic. What's actually happening is that your left eye is seeing one image, your right eye is seeing another image, and your brain glues the 2 images together, so it looks like you've got a hole in your hand.
But hang on a minute, Gareth. Do you realise that this means there's 1 million people all sitting in front of their TVs at home looking really, really stupid?
Yep. Good trick, innit?
You're so cruel.